Are you ready to level up your DJ game in 2025? Whether you're just starting out or thinking of leveling up, mastering the right skills is key to becoming a creative and confident DJ. In today's video, I'm breaking down the 5 essential things that you need to know to learn how to DJ properly in 2025. From using loops and jog wheels to managing your library, mixing manually, nailing effects, this is your ultimate guide to DJing in 2025. Let's dive in. First, we're going to take a look at using effects properly and in a nice, clean and subtle way that's not going to mess up the music that you're playing. This is really important because a lot of DJs, especially beginner DJs, they use effects too much. And I'm telling you now, there's nobody in a crowd who wants to hear a DJ using the phaser or the flanger too much. It's just going to mess up the vibe and make you look like a bit of an amateur. So using effects cleanly and subtly is very important. Now here on the DDJ Flex 4, you actually have a ton of options for using effects. You've got the beat effects section, which is right here. This will control all the effects inside Rekordbox. But you also have a very cool feature called Smart CFX. Now if you press this button right here, that will turn on Smart CFX, which can be applied using the CFX dials right here. If Smart CFX is turned off, then these will just be filter knobs. But if you turn this on, these now control Smart CFX. Now Smart CFX are essentially combination effects inside Rekordbox. If you hold down Shift and press the Smart CFX button, you can see inside Rekordbox, it is cycling through all of the Smart CFX. Most of these Smart CFX sound really good and they are actually very usable in a DJ set. Let's take a listen to a couple. So right now we're on Phantom Echo. Let's play this track and I'll move the dial so that you can hear what Phantom Echo sounds like. So as you can hear, this applies an echo and it also applies a filter depending on which way you turn the dial. So if you turn the dial to the left, it applies a low pass filter and an echo. And if you turn it to the right, it applies a high pass filter and an echo. The echo will also continue playing even when you turn the fader down. This is called post fader effects. And they're definitely the best type of effects because you want to be able to bring the fader down and the tail of the effect carry on, whether that's reverb or echo. There needs to be a tail of the effect playing after you bring the volume fader down. Now, whilst this Phantom Echo Smart CFX sounds really good, it is possible to overuse it. So let's play this track again and I'll show you how I would use this effect so that it doesn't overpower the music. So as you saw there, when I move the dial, I actually bring the fader down quite quickly. And that's because if you just move the dial with the fader up, the echo starts to layer itself and it actually turns into quite a lot of sound. And this can be too much for the track. You only want to use effects subtly to add a little bit of flavor to the music. I also didn't bring the dial down or up too much. I only brought it to around 2 o'clock when turning it to the right and 10 o'clock when turning it to the left. I also brought the volume fader down pretty quickly so that the tail of the effect could play out. This is how I would recommend using the Phantom Echo Smart CFX. Try not to overuse it because it can become quite overbearing. Now let's take a listen to the Noise Chopper Smart CFX. I'm going to play the breakdown section of this track and I'm going to apply the Noise Chopper Smart CFX so that you can hear what it sounds like. So as you can hear, when I turn the dial to the left, there is a noise effect applied over the music. And on top of that, the noise is being chopped rhythmically very, very fast. Now this effect is quite powerful, but I only recommend using it over a breakdown section of a song where there are no drums. If you use it over a part of the music where there are drums, then the chop just makes the music sound too choppy. It cuts up the drums in a way that is a little bit jarring. So I would highly suggest you only move that dial to the left on a breakdown section. When moving the dial to the right, it actually applies a far more subtle effect with a much slower chop. And the noise effect that is also applied is quite subtle. So I would suggest that when using the noise chopper effect, turning the dial to the right is probably the one that will make the most sense most of the time. However, noise chopper being turned to the left can actually sound really good over breakdowns. So use it sparingly because this one is quite powerful and I see a lot of DJs using noise chopper, but just using it too much. Now let's take a look at the beat effects section of the controller. Now if we press the effects select button right here, this will cycle through all of the effects in Rekordbox. And as you can see, there are a lot. So what I recommend doing is going through each one of these effects and experimenting. Don't worry too much about what each effect does. Just start using them and treat it like an experiment. Go through each one, turn the effect on, change the beat value, change the level depth, and just get lost in using all of the effects. The reason I say this is a lot of DJs just end up sticking to the same 1, 2, or 3 effects when there are actually a lot inside DJ software. And most musical discoveries actually come from experimentation and mistakes. When it comes to using effects on your DJ controller and with your DJ software, in my opinion, subtlety is key. Effects can really add something to a DJ set, but they can also take away very quickly. And this just comes down to how you use them. If you use them properly, they can add real class and subtlety and a nice touch to any set. But if you overuse them, they can very easily become jarring and make you look like a bit of an amateur. So start experimenting, especially with the beat effects, because there's so much potential there, but be sure to use it as a seasoning rather than the main ingredient. Be sure to use the jog wheel on your DJ controller, get familiar with it and get comfortable with it. I see a lot of beginner DJs that are too afraid to actually touch the jog wheel, and this is a mistake. Because by getting comfortable with the jog wheel, you're learning to interact with the music, and that's what the jog wheels are there for. They are there so that you can use your hand to manipulate the music directly. Now, the first thing that I would recommend doing is just playing a track and then performing some very simple baby scratches just to get acquainted with the jog wheel. And then press the hotkey to go back to the start. So the baby scratch is simply placing your hand on the jog wheel, catching the sound, and then moving the jog wheel backwards and forwards rhythmically. There's no crossfader use for the baby scratch, so this is a really great one to use to become acquainted more with the jog wheel. I would recommend drilling the baby scratch with any track you like, just to help you get used to using the jog wheel and interacting with the music. Once you feel comfortable doing the baby scratch, I would recommend playing a song on the other deck and then using the baby scratch technique to actually bring the track into the mix in your headphones. But for this example, I'm going to leave the fader up and not use headphones so that you can hear what I'm doing on the other deck. So baby scratches in time, and then let go of the track like that. You can then nudge the jog wheel to get the track in time. Let's take it out of the mix and go back and do some more baby scratches. And then let go in time. This is actually how DJs used to cue records back in the vinyl days. And I think it's still a very good skill to learn in 2025, because it's going to give you the confidence to actually start manipulating the music with your hands, instead of relying purely on pressing buttons. One more technique that you can use to start using the jog wheel more is the spin back. So let's play this track. So the spin back simply involves rewinding the track manually with your hand like that. Now what I suggest doing is playing a song from the start, and then using the spin back to take you back to the start of the track. Like that. Drilling this technique is going to help you get more acquainted with the jog wheels and more confident with using them. Next, let's try some simple manual mixing techniques without using sync or quantize. I think this is really important to learn because at the end of the day, when you go to a gig, you don't know what equipment you're going to find when you get there. Even pro DJs often ask for certain equipment, turn up, and the equipment is not there, and they have to make do with whatever equipment has been provided. So relying on certain hardware or software features is not actually a smart move. So what we're going to do is we're going to play a song on this deck, and I'm going to cue up the song on this deck by pressing the cue button, and then when I press play, I'm going to have to nudge the jog wheel backwards and forwards to get the track in time, rather than using quantize so that when I press play, it's perfectly in time, or using sync. So I cannot just press the sync button and the tracks align. We're going to do it manually, and this is a really important skill to learn. So let's play the track on this deck. And I'm going to bring the volume fader up, and I'm going to press the cue button in time. And very soon I'm going to press play. And when I press play, it won't be perfectly in time because quantize is turned off. Here we go. So it's slightly out of time. So I now need to nudge this jog wheel forward like this to get the track in time. Now, obviously you will be doing this in your headphones, but for the purpose of this video, I'm going to have the fader up so that you can hear what I'm doing. Let's try it one more time. So we'll bring the fader up. 4, 3, 2, 1, play. So as you can hear, the track is out of time. So right now we need to nudge it forward like this to line up the beats. Now, if you're using DJ software like I'm using Recordbox here, then you can just look at the beat grid lines on the screen to make sure that they're lined up. However, the beat grid lines are not always assigned perfectly. Sometimes they're wrong. So learning this skill of listening to the track and nudging it forwards or backwards to get it in time is going to be a very important skill to learn for your DJ career going forward. Relying on things like sync and beat grids will definitely one day come back to bite you. It's happened to me. I've been at a gig, I've pressed sync, the beat grids are not set correctly, so then what happens? The tracks sync, but they don't sync properly because the beat grids are not perfect. So you end up actually pressing sync and creating a massive train wreck, which is really embarrassing. So using this technique of pressing play without quantize turned on and then nudging or pulling the jog wheel, depending on whether you need to speed it up or slow it down to get it in time, is something that you will be very happy you learned to do. Looping is an essential part of modern digital DJing, and it's imperative that you know how to use them properly and confidently. So right here, this is the DDJ Flex 4, and this is not only the most popular beginner to mid-level DJ controller, but it's also got some of the best looping controls outside of CDJs. So you have the same controls on both sides, and right here you've got a manual in and out loop button. So pressing in will set the beginning of the loop, and then once you press out, that is where the loop will end. You've also got a 4-beat loop button right here. Pressing that button will automatically set a perfect 4-beat loop, which is really useful because it's such an easy thing to do. And if you want the loop to be shorter or longer than 4 beats, you can just press the left or the right arrow right here. This will halve or double the loop. So let's play this track and I'll set various loops using those controls to show you how to use them properly. So let's press the in loop button here, and we'll set an 8-beat loop by pressing out there. So that loop is perfectly in time, and the reason it's perfectly in time is because we've got quantize enabled inside Recordbox. If you're going to set loops inside Recordbox using the DDJ Flex 4, then I highly recommend having quantize turned on. This just means that if you press the in and the out buttons slightly out of time, which will happen because we're human, having quantize enabled will mean that that loop will be perfectly in time. When you want to exit this loop, all you need to do is press the exit button right here. If you have any loop engaged, pressing that button will disengage the loop. If you don't already have a loop engaged, then pressing that button will set a 4-beat loop. Let's take a listen to that. So if we press this button anywhere, it will set a 4-beat loop and it will be perfectly in time. And it will be perfectly in time even if you don't have quantize enabled. So this is a good option if you don't want to have quantize enabled all the time. Now let's set a manual loop and we'll use the left and right arrows to halve or double the loop. So we'll set a 4-beat loop here. Now if we want to halve this loop, we just press the left arrow. And now it's a 2-beat loop. And then if we press it again, it's a 1-beat loop. Then it's a half, quarter, eighth. So now the loop is so short that it's essentially just a tone. And some DJs like to use that tone to do some creative things such as apply effects, tweak the filter, and you can actually make some really cool sounds doing that. That's the tone with a high pass filter. And that's the tone with a low pass filter. So it is possible to make the loop super short using the left arrow, and then you can apply effects and filters and actually make a really cool sound. But most of the time you're going to use loops simply to loop a section of the song so that the song doesn't go into the next phrase, which may mess up your mix. If the song you're playing is about to go into a breakdown, but the song that you're mixing in is not, that's when you might want to set a 4-beat loop to stop the track going into the next phrase. You don't want to have a breakdown mixing over a section of a track which is not a breakdown. Ideally, you want breakdowns to happen at the same time as each other, you want drops to happen at the same time as each other, and you want intros to be mixing with outros. That's a rough guide to the sections of songs that you need to mix with each other, and using loops can help you keep a song in a section or a phrase that you want it to stay in so that your mix makes sense. Now let's talk library management. And if you're a new DJ, or maybe you're just getting back into DJing after a long break, then I highly recommend you use a streaming service inside either Rekordbox or Serato. If we take a look at Rekordbox here, you can see that I've got Beatport down here. And if I click on that, I'm actually logged into my Beatport account inside Rekordbox. Now you can use Tidal, SoundCloud, BeatSource or Beatport inside your DJ software. If we go to the settings and then underneath view, let's click layout, and this is where you can choose which streaming services are shown inside Rekordbox. So you've got SoundCloud, Tidal, Beatport and BeatSource. Which one of these you use will mostly depend on the style of music that you play. I like a lot of house, drum and bass and UK garage, so Beatport makes sense for me. If you play a lot of open format and hip hop, then maybe BeatSource will be right for you. If you like a wide range of music, then Tidal will probably be a good shout. And if you like a lot of underground edits and bootlegs, SoundCloud could be for you. The next thing that I would suggest you do inside Rekordbox is open up the playlist palettes window. To open playlist palettes, click this icon right here, and then the playlist palettes will open at the top. You get 4 playlist palettes, and you can drag any playlist from your library to any one of these 4 slots. So as you can see, I've dragged my Beatport House playlist onto playlist palette 1. Number 2 is Beatport D&B. Number 3 is New House Music, and number 4 is Blank. So all you need to do is go to the playlists window, go to playlists, click plus, let's call it Beatport UKG. And then all you need to do is drag that playlist onto a blank list. And there you go, the Beatport UKG playlist is on playlist palette number 4. Let's go back to Beatport and I'll show you the reason I do this. So under genres, you can go to any one of these genres. Let's go to drum and bass here, open up that window, and then let's go into the top 100. Now this is where you can listen to every track in the Beatport top 100. And this top 100 changes over time. So what I highly recommend you do is take a listen through the top 100 every few weeks or so. And then any tracks in your chosen genre that you like, just drag them into your Beatport, House or D&B or UKG or whatever it may be playlist, and that way you will start building a playlist of your favorite songs over time. Because if you weren't to do this, there will be songs in the top 100 that over time fall out of the top 100 and you'll probably never get to hear again. So this is a great way of building a playlist of music you like from a pool of music that's already been co-signed by people who buy music from that streaming service. I've been doing this now for years with the UKG Beatport Top 100, and I've now got a long playlist of music that I really like. A lot of tracks that I probably never would have discovered on my own. So here in the Drum and Bass Top 100, let's take this track for example. If you like it, you just drag it over to the playlist that you want to put it in. Using playlist palettes in this way means that you don't have to keep clicking on different parts of your library. You can drag songs from any playlist into 4 different playlists. I actually think that this is one of the biggest strengths inside Rekordbox. A lot of their library management tools are quite far ahead of the competition, so my advice is take advantage of them and use it to build crates of music that you love. So there are 5 things that are going to give you a head start when learning to DJ in 2025. It's very easy to get overwhelmed with all the different options on DJ controllers and in DJ software, but I guarantee if you master these 5 things, you'll be well on your way to learning to DJ properly.